welcome back to another edition of the Daytona Beach, or in this case, the Orange Beach Motor Mouse, half of us anyway. I'm Ryan Pritt. That man in the Masters jacket over there is Ken Wells' jacket today, Ken. I heard it was a little warm over there these days.
The quarter zip. You got to get in tune with the fashion world.
So what is the temperature on the east side of things right now?
148 by my best guess.
Yeah, about as hot as Kyle Busch should be running these days,
right.
But we'll get to that in a minute.
I looked out my front door. I saw a dog chasing a cat, and they were both walking. That's the only one I got.
Well, I'm coming at you from the just past the western border of Florida. I'm just across about 5 or 10 miles here, and it's a lot cooler and a lot nicer, I think, right now. So we're doing well, but I guess the first thing I have to ask before we get into anything, you got a decision to make, Ken. We had a caution fest early and a long run late, and then we had Scottie Scheffler doing Scottie Scheffler things at golf. So what drew your attention yesterday?
I'm going with the golf. I mean, Sonoma, it had long lulls. I watched the final stage. I just saw bits and pieces of the first part, but I kept switching back to the golf because that got downright, it was something. It was one of the bigger tournaments, so they had all the stars there, and Scottie had to make some clutch putts down the stretch. He missed one on 17, but made one on 18 to win it, to hold off Morikawa. You got the best golfer in the world winning a golf tournament, and what everybody assumes or common thought is that Kyle Larson's the best NASCAR driver in the world, and he won the race at Sonoma. So I mean, it is fun to watch the very best be the best, but it was unless you got two guys beating and banging for the lead on the last lap, it's going to be hard to beat the golf tournament for dramatics yesterday.
Hey, it was nice that Austin Cindric won a race 2 weeks ago. He may have wrecked more times yesterday than most of the field has all season, and still finished the race. So,
well, you want to know his biggest problem, right? You want to know his biggest problem?
I would love, tell us.
I picked him to win. That's a problem. I said, all right, he's got the smell on him, victory lane smell on him. Now he's going to a road course where he's always good at road courses, and I mean, word must have got to him that he was right on my radar. So he said he wasn't going to put up with that crap.
Yeah. There was something pretty poetic about Martin Truex sitting there. I mean, have you ever seen a more frustrating scenario, sitting 15 feet from the start-finish line and just watching the whole field pass him?
Yeah, and having to keep hitting the ignition, I guess, to get the thing to jump forward about 5 or 10 feet. And he did that just enough to jump it across the finish line. Oh my God, it was pitiful.
Pockrass talked a little bit after the race yesterday about whether days like that kind of influence him one way or the other. Obviously, we're still waiting on the retirement decision from Martin Truex. It's becoming an annual rite of passage, by the way. It's the third straight year. You think that influences him at all, the way that yesterday went, the way this year's going, or do you think that kind of is just a byproduct?
Well, maybe he might be just like the rest of us, where it influences him in the moment, and then he sleeps on it, and he's over it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it could influence him the other way. It might piss him off enough that he's wanting to. I mean, because it wasn't just yesterday. It's been a month of Sundays at least. He's been struggling. So we'll see. I mean, it might light a fire and irritate him. But it's interesting though. Since the playoffs started last year, it's been very up and down with a lot of down.
Yeah, and as bad as it's been for him, I mean, it looks like a championship season compared to what Kyle Busch has gone through over the last month. So you can go over to news-journalonline.com. See, there's the plug again, and read all about it. But this last 4 weeks, I mean, gets punched in the mouth. Well, I guess the side of the face. Let's be anatomically correct here. I don't know how many pit road violations he had at Charlotte, but it was at least 2, and that just didn't go well. And then he gets dumped by Kyle Larson at Gateway. He gets dumped by Ross Chastain yesterday. And, man, he just kind of sounds like a driver defeated right now, doesn't he?
As soon as that happened, me and I guess I'm sure plenty of other viewers must have been thinking, all right, I hope Fox is smart enough to put a camera on him in the garage area when this thing's over and just see what might go down between him and Ross, the boss. But nothing. I guess he must have just got out, went right in the hauler, and that was interesting because I bet they were queued up and ready. And Ross was probably thinking the same thing, but anyway, nothing. It's
yeah.
always the quiet ones though. You got to remember that. It's when they're being quiet is when you got to start worrying about them.
Yeah, but this. Can you imagine this happening to mid to late 20s, Kyle Busch? I mean, it is. It goes against type for him. What's going on with him?
Well, he is older than he was then. I think, he got off to a good start last year after he went to the Childress team, and we thought, wow, it's not just a team-wide thing. I mean, once you put a really quality, one of the best drivers, if not the best driver in their equipment, it's a capable race team now. And of course, that team had its moments with Tyler Reddick, but now all of a sudden it's like the new smell of the car's new smell is worn off, and now you're starting to hear every little clank and you're feeling every little slip. It's just, I don't know if they weren't as good as they looked early last year, if maybe that's what it is. They really weren't that good. But I don't know. But maybe he's just reached a point where he's just said this until something changes internally or structurally with this team. This is all I got, And he had a good run yesterday. And he was going to finish third, right? I think. Yeah.
Third?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Way up here on the balcony, we just had the Dolphin Cruise banner plane fly by. If you guys were able to hear that, so if you're in Orange Beach and want to get Dolphin Cruise, there's a place here. Yeah, I wanted to put you on the spot here a little bit, moving away from Kyle real quick while we got a minute. I don't know if you got to look at the playoff standings. Actually, I do know that you did because you just read a story with a minute ago. But there's developing a pretty interesting scenario here at the bubble, and obviously there's 10 races to go, so there's going to be a lot of movement. Let's just assume for the sake of the segment here that Ryan Blaney and Alex Bowman in 13th and 14th are okay. Currently, Blaney's 56 points above 16th place. If you look from 15th to 19th, you've got Chris Buescher, Bubba Wallace, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, and Chase Briscoe, and they're all within 50 points of each other. So if you had to take two of those five right now to be there at the end, which two of those drivers would you pick to make the playoff?
Give me that 5-guy rundown one more time.
Chris Buescher currently in 15th, Bubba Wallace in 16th, Kyle Busch 17th, Joey Logano 18th, Chase Briscoe 19th.
I like the two at the top that are there now, Buescher and Bubba. Bubba could win. You got one more plate race between now and the cutoff.
Yep.
You got to like him at plate races. Buescher can win I think Buescher can win practically anywhere.
In fact, he won that very plate race last summer, by the way.
Yeah, I'll go with those two. But no, God, that leaves out Joey, doesn't it? I'll go Buescher and Joey.
Well,
as it stands right now, I would say Buescher and Logano.
Yeah, and then you start thinking,
like, them over, didn't I?
Well, you start thinking too. You got that aforementioned plate track ahead of us, and we also have that little Chicago street deal where I think we're all going to favor SVG. But if Michael McDowell was to sneak and win that, which I think is very, very, very possible, then all of a sudden you're talking taking 1 or 2 point spots away, and this is going to get really tight. But that's the fun of this system, right? And
I didn't realize how close Ryan Blaney was. I mean, he's 2 clunkers away from sliding out of the top 16, and it's not like that can happen.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
I mean, that's stunning. That's stunning that he could see the back door from where he is right now, and he might be giving the bums rush to it. I mean, that's stunning to me. I didn't realize he was that close.
Yeah, could be an interesting scenario over the last 10, but that 10 starts with 1, and that 1 is in the cornfields, Ken. If you build it, NASCAR will come eventually, anyway, in the Cup Series. We're heading to Iowa, man, and quick look at the averages, and there's just not a lot of history to draw from. I think Brad K.
and bunch of Xfinity races, about 8.
Brad and Ricky Stenhouse actually have a trio of Xfinity wins there, and Christopher Bell has a really nice average. But other than that, I don't know. What are you expecting here as we head here for the first time?
Hopefully it'll be a better race than all the other 1 mile and shorter tracks. It's the only 7/8 of a mile track on the circuit. Great. It's a great length. Richmond's 3/4 of a mile. It's a little bit longer in Richmond. And I heard somebody say the other day, and this maybe harder to believe than Ryan Blaney's current points predicament. I heard somebody say that nearly 5% of of the United States land mass is cornfield.
Wow.
I think that might be the contiguous 48. I don't think we're going to count Alaska in that. I think of the lower 48, something like 5% of the land mass is covered in ears of corn. So
yeah,
how about that?
I was once fortunate enough to ride around this great state of Alaska for a few days. Don't remember many cornfields there. Saw a lot of mountains though. So.
Oh, and 2% of the land mass is covered in Buc-ee's, by the way, if anybody cares.
Well, guys, if you didn't enjoy it, at least you learned something, right? So that's as good a place to drop off as any. That's Ken Willis. I'm Ryan Pritt. We'll talk to you next week after hopefully a good race in the corn. See you then.